Hi and welcome to the session today, which is going to be the last in the 90-day marketing plan stream. Thanks for coming along. I'm looking forward to this session where we sort of make the rubber hit the road and turn what we've been doing over the last 3 weeks into a plan where you can actually get out and start doing your marketing. And hopefully with October starting next month, that gives you, give or take 90 days running through up to Christmas, so you can actually get into some of this marketing. Before I get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. Any questions, either issues you've got, technical issues, just use the question window and Anthea will try and help you out there. And if you have any questions for me about what we're talking about today or anything to do with your marketing plan, please fire those into the question window. I will deal with those at the end. I'll stick around for a bit of a Q&A session. And final thing before I get started, you can see some handouts in the admin go to webinar admin panel. So you've got the slides there, the marketing plan workbook, and also a blank 90-day plan, and that's what we're going to be talking about and sort of filling in today. And also just mention that we will be sending out a recording probably later today, or if not tomorrow, and we'll send those downloads out as well. Okay, let's get into it. So, quickly about me, I'm the founder and CEO of Biz Inc. And I've been working for well over 15 years in online business since the late 90s, and exclusively with accountants and bookkeepers since 2010. And at Biz Inc, we help busy accountants and bookkeepers grow using online marketing. And we work with firms across the English-speaking world, so US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and a few other places in between. So just to quickly recap what we've been doing in this stream, we've had 3 sessions already, and you can see the recordings of those sessions on monthofmarketing.com. In the first session, we went through and had a look at the fact that if you're marketing to everybody, you're marketing to nobody. Apologies if you're bored of hearing me saying that, but hopefully, that makes a lot of sense to you, is that, if your marketing is really wide, you're not actually increasing the amount of people you're getting in front of, you're decreasing them because the appeal is too weak. And the way to counter that is to find who your ideal prospect is and then focus your marketing on them. And the way to focus your marketing on them is to really understand what are their pain points and how you can solve those for them. And what we looked at last week is turned all that and said, okay, let's create a prospect map. And we worked out where the ideal prospect hangs out. Is that offline, online? Where are those places where you're going to find the people you really want to sell to? And so what we're going to be doing today is looking at about how we turn that prospect map into an actual plan. So how do we actually go to those places where they are hanging out and start talking to them and turning some of those prospects into leads and into clients? And so, again, I've shared this a couple of times. My simple definition of marketing is, who are your customers? Where are they? And then you go and talk to them. Now, that obviously makes it sound really easy. I'm not saying marketing is easy, but it is straightforward if we've defined who we want to go after, where they are. We just need to go and talk to them. So, like I say, that doesn't make it easy, but it should make it straightforward. That the path should be clear, and that's what we'll be looking at today. Too often I think we get stuck in procrastinating over strategy and tactics and should we do this or that. And the goal of this system that I've been showing you about over the last 3-4 weeks is to actually just get you doing some marketing. There's always time to improve and refine. I think it's Facebook, one of their mottos is good this week is better than perfect next week. And it's so true in marketing. Is get out there and do it rather than wait and try and perfect perfect everything, because that never actually happens. So we went through the prospect map last week, looking at all the places that our prospect hangs out. And so if you've got the workbook open, that'd be really helpful. And we've got those notes there. And the reason why that's so important is obviously, if we want to go and market to a certain prospect, we need to be in the places where they are. And that sounds really obvious and simple, but very often, we'll have a firm come to us and say, for example, we want to do Facebook advertising because, they've seen another firm doing it and that's worked. And maybe that does work really well, but maybe not. It might be that the prospects they're going after just don't use Facebook. So it's about understanding that the prospect map is going to guide the tactics that we're going to use in your 90-day plan. So really spend a bit of time on that prospect map. Maybe go back and have a look at it again, because when you've got that, if you filled that out really well, this part becomes a lot easier. And this is where we're going to be adding the detail to your 90-day plan. Now, this is a very, very simple format, but this is exactly what we use for our overall planning at BizInc. And basically what we're going to do is list out the activities for the next 90 days, week by week, into this document. So as I mentioned, you can see in the handout section in the GoToWebinar control panel, you can download a blank 90-day plan. And the reason why we do 90 days is because, as you know, if you start trying to plan a year, 2, 3 years in advance, it soon becomes, the further away from now that we start planning, the more fictional that becomes. And it's like when you talk to the bank and they want to see like a 5-year plan from you. It's pretty ridiculous, to be planning on that level. It never comes true. So 90 days to me is a period which is long enough to see results, but it's short enough that we can be realistic that we're actually going to do what we say. And so in lots of different ways, it's just a good period to to plan over. Like for example, if you do sports, it's often training plans are like 90 days because it's long enough to get results, but short enough that as human beings we're pretty poor at forward planning a lot of the time, estimating time in the future. So 90 days is kind of like a manageable chunk. And the reason why it's great to have it all on one screen as well is that we could be doing this in our project management software, the workflow software, tasking it all out. But what we've found over the years is that very quickly gets lost, and having this single snapshot of what you're going to do is really, really powerful. When you get around to doing the planning, we'll do that in just a second. For sure, you'll want to add some more detail to further than what we put on this document, and that will go in your project management software or your to-do list or whatever. But having this snapshot really keeps you on track, and especially if you've got a team and you want to be collaborating, it's really powerful to have this. So what we do at BizInc is we use Google Docs. So we've got a shared document we can all go in and see, and so we know exactly what's happening from week to week. So before we just begin filling out that 90-day plan, just wanted to pause and say, it's really important to work out what you're selling. So explain that a little bit more. Is often I see firms, accountants and bookkeepers just promoting their firm, and the thing is that your prospects, when they first come across you, have no interest in your firm. They're just looking for a solution to their problems. They don't care about you. They don't care about your firm. Now, that's not to say they're not important later in the process. And, the marketing funnel, the sales funnel for accountants and bookkeepers is quite long. So down the track, who you are, your reputation, positioning, all of those things are important, but they don't hook people in. What hooks people is, I've got a problem, you've got the solution, let's talk about that. And I think the fact that a lot of firms don't do that, and they sort of just promote that they're, not the average accountant or not the average bookkeeper, or trusted by XYZ, that kind of very generic, fairly neutral marketing, it just doesn't hook people in. So before we get into the plan, I think it's really, in your 90 days, work out what services do you want to promote. Maybe you've got products that you want to promote. There could be things that you don't sell in terms of, you don't necessarily get dollars and cents from them. So for example, you might be running a free event, but you've still got to sell to get people in the room. Or you might have an ebook that you're looking to promote, and that creates your leads for you. You've still got to sell that to people. So that's the focus of your marketing, rather than just trying to promote your firm in general. So be very clear on that, through the campaigns that you're going to run. And just as a side note on that, I think the best way to promote your services is by showing the outcomes that you've got for previous clients. So, case studies and testimonials type material is more powerful than the marketing copy that, you or whoever else can come up with. So, saying something like, we did X for Y and saved them Z dollars per year, that's really powerful, especially when, X is the very specific pain point of Y, who's your ideal prospect. So that's just a little side note in terms of promoting services and products. So moving on, what's going to go into the plan? Now, to me, there are only 4 ways that you can grow your firm, and the first one of those is buying fees, buying a firm, which isn't marketing, so doesn't come into my it doesn't come into my scheme of things. So there's 3 things in terms of marketing you can do. Number 1 is market to your existing clients, so sell them additional products and services and grow that way. Number 2 is referral marketing. Obviously getting referrals from existing clients, referral partners, very powerful. And number 3 is marketing to prospects. So what we've been talking about over these last 3 weeks, how do you, get new prospects, turn them into leads, and turn them into clients? So basically new people to the business. And those 3 things need to go into your plan now. 1 and 2 to me are what I would call like your foundational marketing. Should be doing those. They're the easiest and most cost-effective ways to grow. And then number 3, that's what we've been working through these last few weeks is actually how to grow your client numbers. So marketing tactics, as I mentioned, obviously the prospect map, where your prospects are, is going to guide your tactics. And so that could entail lots of different things that you could do. This is, a short webinar. We don't have time to go through every permutation of your marketing tactics, and that's why like I say, take the time to fill in that prospect map, because that's going to, that's going to show you those places where you need to be. We don't have time to run through all those examples. But saying that, having worked with hundreds of different accounting and bookkeeping firms globally, there are a few things that I would definitely include in your plan. And I'm going to list those out for you, and then we're going to have a look at how they translate into an actual 90-day plan. And there are also some things that I would probably avoid, because the trick here is not to try and find like 10 or 20 marketing tactics. The trick is to find 2, 3, 4 tactics that get results, get real results, because there's probably 100 things you could do which might have some effect. But given that we've got very limited time, we've got very limited resources, then we've got to hone in on what actually works, and repeatedly do that. And if it stops working, we stop doing it. But in reality, most of the successful tactics will work again and again. And if they do work, then there's no need to do, other less, less successful tactics, things that just aren't going to give you a good investment on your time or the cash investment you put into them. So what are the things that I think you really need in your plan? The first one, I mean, it's not specifically a tactic, but I think you need a lead magnet. And what I mean by a lead magnet is having something you can, give away that's going to sort of it's going to get a prospect talking to you and become a lead. And that's really important because we don't have like an e-commerce business or a retail business where people are just going to, come onto your website, click, buy, or, walk into your office and go, I want to be a client. It doesn't work like that. You've got a much longer kind of marketing and sales funnel. And that process, that funnel has lots of steps along it as you build trust and credibility with a lead, with a prospect, before before they're going to become a client. And to me, the first step of that is often a lead magnet. And so what I mean by that could be a valuable piece of content, such as an ebook that you can give away on your website. You can give that away on social media. You could even give that away at an event. And so it runs across all of your marketing and is the thing that you give away in order to usually get someone's email address or details, and that begins the conversation. It's the top of your marketing funnel. Having that lead magnet is really important. So I'll give you some real examples. This is one of Bizing's clients. They have a free business plan template and course that they give away on their website and also in some of their other marketing as well. So, someone visits their website. As you know, most people who visit your website aren't just going to get straight in touch with you. But if you give away some cool stuff, they might be quite happy to leave their name and email address, and that becomes a lead. Otherwise, they just leave the website and probably never come back. Here's another client, has a Cashflow kit. So again, valuable content that people visiting the site will part with their details, and then a conversation starts. This is something from Bizing's website. So, we're talking about trying to focus your marketing on an ideal prospect. Obviously, with Bizing, we work with accountants and bookkeepers. So we've got this website audit that's just for accountants and bookkeepers. Now, you might be able to create something similar if you've really understood your, your prospects' pain points. Could you come up with something that talks to them? Because the more specific that you can make your lead magnet, if we're going after, a niche or a focused kind of prospect, then the stronger that appeal is going to be. So just as a side note here, I wouldn't even call it a lead magnet, but one thing that I see used as a lead magnet a lot on accounting and bookkeeping websites is the free 1-hour consultation. And I'd really recommend that you don't do that. Apologies if you're doing that on your website, but I would say change that up for something more enticing. And the reason I don't like the 1-hour consultation, well, a few reasons. First is that lots of firms do it. It doesn't make you stand out. The second thing is that people know it's a sales meeting. Really, it doesn't. If you imagine some other business trying to sell to you, offered you the free consultation, what do you think? You don't, you actually think, really, they're going to try and sell to me here. And the first thing is it's not a free consultation, because just like you've had to give up an hour of your time, they also have to give up an hour of their time. So they don't see it as free. There's a lot of friction there between, perceived kind of friction. What you want to do is create something that's got plenty of value, but there's very low friction for the person to get hold of it. So, like the previous example, they just need to put in their email address. And so that's, a lot more value, a lot easier for them. And a lot easier for you as well, right? Because you don't have to do that meeting. It's that could come down the track. So lead magnet, really, really important. That will kind of cut through all of your marketing, as you'll see as we build the plan. Second thing I would definitely be incorporating in your plan is face-to-face. Even in this kind of very high-tech world that we're in now, people still buy from people, and particularly, with accountants and bookkeepers, being in the relationships business, it's really important to have those meetings. Now, there are some situations where that becomes harder. You might be a virtual firm, but I'd say any opportunity you can get to do face-to-face, really important. And like I said, if you are virtual, there are ways to sort of mitigate that a little bit. You could do Zoom or GoToMeeting, you can, screen sharing, that kind of thing. But I'd also be including in your plan trying to attend networking events. We all know about those kind of local networking events. Are there events and conferences that your ideal prospect attends? So I'm going to be using the example of a firm that's trying to get cafe and restaurant leads. And so, is there a hospitality business conference? There surely will be at least one in every country. So, can you go to that and try and get leads? If there's not, or maybe not in your area, what about running your own event? Again, tried and tested marketing method. That's because it works. People keep doing them because it works. And then the last sort of thing in face-to-face you might consider would be speaking at an industry event. Getting speaking engagements can be really, really powerful because it's positioning you as an expert in your field. So here's a real example of a firm near me in New Zealand, and you can see here they even charge an entry fee for this event. Now, I can tell you their business model isn't getting paid to run events, but that means that they're just getting serious people along to the event. It creates, if you've invested $50, you're going to probably attend, so they're going to get a better turnout, and they're going to get a better kind of caliber of people going along. And the funny thing with this is what you're actually doing here. Like I said, it's not their business model to get paid to do events. That this is going to be a lead generator for them. So that's right. People will actually pay to become leads. So the second thing that I would have as part of your backbone of your marketing plan would be email marketing. Email outperforms all other types of online marketing still. The return on investment is about $37 for every $1 spent. And the reason, well, there's lots of reasons for that, but one of the big reasons is that every business owner has an email address. Whereas only some will be using social media as an example. So email is the place where everyone is, and I would put building a list of targeted emails right at the top of your list of priorities. So how do you build that list? Well, the lead magnet is key in that. So having that piece of content that you can give away in exchange for someone's email address. And what that does, it turns website visitors into leads, really important. You can share that on social media and harvest email addresses that way. Or you could even email businesses direct and let them know about, say you've created a really good ebook, you could let them know about that. That's not spam as long as those people have publish their details on their website um, or a kind of online directory or something like that. So it gives you a reason to get in touch with people. Other ways you can build your list. We just talked about face-to-face, so meeting people at events or running your own events, another great way to build an email list. And then obviously you'll have your existing clients' email addresses, and when we're talking about marketing to them, email is going to be one of the most cost-effective ways you can do that. One thing not to do is buy a list. Almost definitely going to be a waste of money. Can get you in trouble with spam as well, because often people end up on those lists that they didn't really know they were getting on the list. So I would avoid buying lists at all costs. So that didn't mean it takes you a little bit longer to build a substantial list up, but at the same time, if you keep the quality higher, that's going to be much better in the end. And the types of email marketing you should be doing, three things. First of all is a newsletter. Again, pretty old school, and but it's a tried and tested method of marketing. So I would be sending an email to clients, a newsletter to clients, and a newsletter to prospects, and sending them useful business content, local news, and always feature a call to action. So going back to that thing, what are you selling? Always have something where people can either buy something from you or come to an event or something like that. That's really important. And just a side note on that, I'm not going to talk much about website here, but if you're going to be sharing, for example, useful content in your newsletter, I mean, that's the only reason you should be sending one, right? As if it's useful. The correct place for that content is your blog, not just in the newsletter itself. So add interesting articles to your blog and then pull those back into your newsletter and send them out. And that can be automated. Like in BizInc websites, we automate all of that for you. But the reason why you want that on your blog, there's lots of reasons, right? First of all, it keeps your website looking fresh. But more than anything, people aren't going to interact with you from their inbox. They're going to do that more likely from your website. So get them out of their inbox onto your website, and so the blog is the perfect place to do that. And you're sort of killing two birds with one stone there, right? Is if you're going to create the content, don't just hide that away in your newsletter. You might as well have that on your website. Second type of email that you should be sending is what I would call email blasts. So what I mean by this is an email on a single topic that you send out and you're promoting something. So, I would be sending every month an email promoting either a product, a service, or an event, something like that. Trying to get people to preferably buy off you or sort of do something which results in a, I guess like a commercial action. And I'd be sending one email blast to clients every month and one to prospects. Might be the same email, but probably going to send something slightly different. And so you should also send those probably more than you think, in the sense of, say you sent one in week 1 of your 90-day plan. You can send that again in week 2. For example, send it to all the people who didn't open it, or maybe in week 4 you change the subject line and send it again. Because people are busy, they skim read things, so often it takes a few times for them to see something before they act. So I'm not necessarily, I'm not saying go out and just spam people and send the same thing over and over again, but you can do more repetition than you think with email marketing. Just look at your open numbers. You'd be lucky to get, 50% is a massive open rate. You're probably looking between more like 20 to 30%, but that means the majority of people in any given email didn't read it, and so you can send the same email to the people who didn't open it, and increase the effectiveness. Final thing I'd be doing with email is email automation. And the way that this would probably work is someone downloads, for example, the lead magnet from your site. You'll want to follow them up. Now, the smart way to do that is with email automation. So, set out a series of emails that get sent over, a week, 2 weeks, could be several months, and that nurtures your leads. There's, you need some specific software for doing that, and that will be the one that says it is a little bit more advanced. Newsletters and email blasts are pretty much essential, and you might look at automation as well, because it just saves a lot of time and does that lead nurturing for you. So social media is, something. A few years ago we were often asked, does social media work for accountants and bookkeepers? Well, I think pretty much everyone sees that now that it does. Just trying to work out the best way to harness it. And again, that's where the prospect map is so useful, because you can identify the social networks that your prospects are using, and then in more detail, the actual groups and pages that those people like and take part in. So, in general, I would say Facebook and LinkedIn for most firms. That's where you're going to focus your marketing. But depending on who your ideal prospect is, other sites like Twitter or Instagram could be more relevant. We have one client who focuses on millennials, and she does a lot of her marketing on Instagram. But that might not be the case for a lot of you. So, what kind of things should be doing on social media? The same content that you're sharing on your blog and in your newsletter, share that through social as well. So, do you have a Facebook page? If not, I would look to get one straight away and be sharing your content there as well. That can easily be automated. All BizInc websites, you post to your blog, and that automates content straight to your social pages and your newsletter. Then what I would also be looking at in Facebook would be what groups are your prospects in. So using my example of cafe and restaurant owners, are there cafe and restaurant business groups on Facebook? Well, there definitely are, and there are even regional ones as well. So you'll want to be joining those groups, not looking at them as just like an advertising channel, but going in there and being part of a community, sharing useful content, answering questions, positioning yourself as an expert. Not necessarily going to deliver you overnight results, but can be really effective over time. And you might even want to create your own group in Facebook or LinkedIn, particularly Facebook. Example with BizInc, we created a group less than 4 months ago. We've already got 850 members in there, accountants and bookkeepers talking about marketing. It's been a fantastic thing. So have a look at that as well. In terms of LinkedIn, lots you can do there. Whereas in Facebook, you have a company page. I mean, you can do that in LinkedIn. They don't tend to get much traffic. Same with groups. I mean, there's lots of groups in LinkedIn, some more active than others. They don't tend to be as engaged as Facebook groups. I think LinkedIn's going to be doing some stuff to try and improve that. But we've personally found that in LinkedIn, your personal profile is the best place to be posting your content. Good for connecting with people on LinkedIn. That's where it's probably better than Facebook, is that people expect you to make connections with them. And a great way to do that is using your lead magnet as the hook. So definitely be having a look at social. I say Facebook and LinkedIn would be probably the places where I would be looking, unless your prospect map tells you otherwise. The final thing that I would say, I would really seriously consider would be online advertising. Most of what I've just run through there, has very little cost involved with it apart from your time and maybe like the minimal cost to send emails. But things like MailChimp are free. But as we know, in terms of time investment, that free is sometimes really expensive, and often it's just better to pay in dollars and cents. And that's where I think if I had an accounting or bookkeeping firm, I would definitely be looking at online advertising. First of all, it can be relatively low cost, particularly if you've defined your ideal prospect really well, and you've got a really good offer or lead magnet. So if you've got that really good fit between your ideal prospect, you understand their pain points, and you've got some messaging that talks to that, that's going to work really well. And why I would seriously be looking at online advertising is, if it works, so what I mean by that is obviously that the return on investment stacks up. You just keep running it. You're not putting time into it. There's lots of things that are worth putting time into, right? But if we can shortcut that with cash, and we don't, the numbers stack up, then that makes a lot of sense. So 3 main advertising platforms I would look at. First one would be Facebook advertising, which has really come on in leaps and bounds and gives you a huge amount of options in terms of demographically and geographically targeting Facebook users. It's a really big topic, and actually what we'll do is Gayatri, who's doing our social media Q&A tomorrow, did a great webinar about Facebook advertising a couple of months ago. So what we'll do in the email follow-up to this session is put a link to that, because it's not there is a bit of a learning curve with Facebook advertising, but once you've got it sorted, you can just keep running it. There are lots of different types of campaigns you can run, from lead generation to video campaigns or just straight promotional advertising. And once you've got it set up well, you can be looking at fairly low budget to get some really impressive results. Probably the one of the most well-known online advertising platforms would be Google AdWords, and that can get you in front of a lot of eyeballs, potentially a lot more than Facebook, but isn't quite as targeted. And it doesn't work as well when you're marketing to niches, because people aren't really searching for that niche accounting or bookkeeping service, which is part of the power of it, is that people don't think that niche stuff exists. So when you get in front of them, it's really impressive. The downside with search engine marketing is that people aren't searching for it. They don't know what they don't know. And the other thing with Google AdWords is that in competitive areas, the cost per click can be quite high, and you can quickly kind of plow through some budget there. So it can work. I've seen it work really well for some firms, but I've seen a lot of other firms burn quite a lot of cash through Google AdWords and not really get the results that they were hoping for. Finally, I'd say LinkedIn advertising. I've not seen a massive amount of firms using it. I've talked to a few people anecdotally, and they've had mixed results, but that could be something to have a look at. If that's where your ideal prospect is, if they're not on Facebook, then that could be something to consider. So they're the things I have included. Some of the things I haven't included, some of these classic marketing tactics for accounting and bookkeeping firms. Those tactics that I mentioned, so having a lead magnet, using email, doing face-to-face events, social media, and online advertising, I just think they're things that are going to work. I see those work time and again. Now, print advertising, yeah, that can work for sure, but tends to be less effective, tends to be quite a high cost to return. Same with things like sponsorship. You might want to sponsor your local sports team is that going to be as effective as you know, running a really focused event or series of events? I don't think so. You know, you got to make that call. Again, things like search marketing. You know, we talked about paid Google AdWords. Would I be doing a huge amount of search engine optimization or SEO? Probably not. You know, it's a huge time investment if you do it yourself. Very specialized thing to do. Or to, you know, to hire a good SEO firm, that not too many of those about either, is very expensive. So any of these tactics will work, and you know, we could make a list. You know, we could talk all day about different things that you could do. All I've tried to outline is some things that we've seen work again and again. Your individual plan is going to really be specific to the ideal prospect that you're going after. And so, you know, some of these things might be absolutely perfect to them. There might be some kind of pretty left field tactic that is going to work. That's got to be down to you know, who you're going after. So let's just have a look at this kind of. I've come up with a very kind of brief example of a 90-day plan. I'm pretty limited by space to fit it onto a slide, so you know, I've just made it very, very brief, but you'll get the idea, and this hopefully will help you fill your one out. So 3 different colors, as you see at the bottom, are 3 different types of marketing that we outlined: marketing to existing clients, referral marketing, which I call, you know, your foundational marketing, and then marketing to new prospects. So, you know, going after your niche, your ideal prospect, what we've been doing in these sessions. So let's go through them one by one, and how this might kind of translate into 90 days of activities. So in black, you know, marketing to existing clients, what are some of the things that we've got happening there? Email blasts in week 1, 5, and 9. So what we're doing there is just basically promoting something, a service, to our existing clients who may not have that service. Because I'm sure you've all got clients who don't know all of the stuff that you do, and so I would be sending them emails about that. And you know, whether it's a 90-day plan, I'll be sending something every single month to try and sell an additional service. So, you know, we've got value add services in there, you know, Cashflow event. So that isn't necessarily selling, you know, the Cashflow services, it's getting them along to an event. And you can see that in week 8, putting on an event for clients. Really good thing to obviously keep your clients sticky, and then a great upsell opportunity. We've also got a client newsletter in there, so that was a bit of a no-brainer to me, is that, you know, you should be getting in touch with your clients at least once a month and giving them some useful information, obviously including a bit of a call to action in that every time, so there's a way for them to potentially buy more services from you. So we've got those running through the whole period there, and yeah, I call that stuff foundational marketing. Is just, to me, it's fairly easy, straightforward stuff, and you've just got to do it. And that's where it's just good to have this kind of 90-day plan format. Is okay, every month we're going to do an email blast. We might do like 1 event a quarter. We've got a client newsletter every month, and there might be some more social media stuff in there as well. So you can see week 7, 5. There's a bit of social media stuff where we might promote the event. So as I say, I'm quite limited by space in what I would do here. You would put a lot more detail on your own one, and then, you know, maybe task that out in your workflow software. So, you know, like in week 3, we've got the client newsletter. That obviously, you know, you might task that out and say, okay, I need to source some local news. I need to write an article that goes in there. You might task that out a bit more outside of this. This is just your overview. So moving on to referral marketing. We all know that the best leads come from referrals. but a lot of us don't do enough to get more referrals. And so I would put that into your plan. Two ways I've done it here is meeting with referral partners. So like week 2, meeting with bankers, week 6, legal referral partners, and week 10, financial planning referral partners. I've just thrown those in as examples. You'll hopefully have your own network of referral partners, but just making sure that's not an ad hoc thing, that goes into the plan and just gets done and ticked off, because a lot of marketing is just is going through the process, right? It's not about necessarily coming up with the cleverest ideas or the coolest creative. It's just doing the stuff that can be quite boring, like quite routine, mundane stuff, but it works. So I'd have those referral partner meetings in there, or calls, or however you wanted to do that. And week 8, once a quarter, I think, send an email to all your clients asking if they would refer somebody else to you. You could incentivize that, but why not? I think that's something that should be doing, and actually more than just once a quarter, working out how you're consistently asking clients if they're happy with what you've been doing for them. Could they refer anyone else? And that stuff just works. So that's your foundational stuff. I think that's the bedrock of what you do, and that in itself can really drive growth. But obviously we want to get new clients as well, and that's what we've been doing in this stream, how we market to new prospects. And so you can see in orange on the screen what I've done there. We've got a bit of a flow to that, and I quite like in a 90-day plan to sort of build up to something at the end of the month. So week 12 we've put in an event on how to run your cafe or restaurant business in the cloud. So that ideal prospect, we're saying here cafe or restaurant businesses, and so building up to that event that we might run. Face-to-face marketing we know works really well, so we're going to try an event, but that gives us the whole 90 days to build up and kind of get attendees coming to that event. But jumping back to week 1, I stress the importance of a lead magnet. So here I've put create an ebook on running your cafe or restaurant business in the cloud. So start creating that. Week 2, we're trying to get into some of those social media groups, Facebook and LinkedIn, that are related to that niche. That's going to be important kind of as we go on. We want to be in those places where our prospects are hanging out. So week 3, ebook's finished. What are we going to do with that? Well, let's get that posted on social media pages, and then in week 4, maybe get that posted into some groups as well, because hopefully by then, if you've been taking part in those groups a little bit, they're going to take notice of that. I've also put that attend a hospitality conference. Like I said, trying to look at those places that industry events. Where are those people? What opportunities have you got to actually meet your prospects? Even if it's something where you felt like you might not win many clients at going to a conference like that, there's so much you're going to learn about what's going on in the industry, those pain points, what people are thinking about. So it's going to really help. So moving into week 5, email blast to prospects. So hopefully you've got a bit of a list of prospects in that niche that you'll be going after. Send them an email about the ebook. Rather than just saying, hey, do you want to become a client? We're going, hey, here's something that's really useful for you. Take a look. Week 6, following up leads from the conference with the ebook. So why I've put that in is just to understand how important that lead magnet is we've created that. It's taken a bit of effort in the first month, but now we're starting to use that again and again. We've posted it on social media. We can use it in week 6 to put in a newsletter. We can email people about it. And then if we're following up a lead, instead of just going, hey, nice to meet you, you've actually got something really cool to follow them up with. You're demonstrating a lot of value. Week 7, repeat that email blast. As I mentioned, repetition works. Not all the people will have read that, so get it out to them again. You're going to get more of a result that way. And I've put in there maybe starting a Facebook adverts lead gen campaign. So getting that in front of, you can use Facebook and go, okay, demographically and geographically target people. So in this case, cafe and restaurant businesses in a certain area, and you could try and get that ebook in front of them. So very, very targeted marketing. And then in that last month, what we're trying to do there is we talked about that event in week 12. We're going to be promoting that. So the email blast, like I said, I'd be doing an email blast to clients and prospects every month. The one that we're doing in week 9 is to promote that event. And then we're switching in week 10, we're switching the Facebook adverts to promote that event. So that's just an example. It's obviously all about you understanding who your ideal prospect is and getting some of those activities in there. The important thing is to keep it nice and simple at the start and try and do things that you actually, you're going to get through. And what we do here is actually, a to-do list is really nice, right? But a done list is really motivating. So you can see what I've done here is that we, use strike through to cross off the tasks that are done. And that's really motivating to see, yeah, I'm getting through this stuff, what's happening. And maybe if you haven't done things, you can actually go back then and go, okay, what didn't happen? Was I too ambitious about what I thought I'd get through? And if you're showing this to the team, also, it makes you accountable to each other. So just conscious of time, what to track. Look, there's lots of things you can track, particularly through online marketing. The key things at the start, I think you need to know, how many leads are you getting? So how many in total? And how many new leads are you getting from month to month? Where are those leads coming from? Is it all your referral partners? Is your marketing actually working? Is your ebook dumping in 50 leads a month into your marketing funnel? That's great. Maybe think about creating another one. Or if it's not working, maybe you need to tweak it. And the last two kind of go together. You need to know how many sales meetings you've got booked. That's the ultimate metric, right? Is your marketing working as well? Are we getting meetings booked? And then what you need to know is obviously the conversion rate of those sales meetings. So how many of those meetings end up in someone becoming a client? Now that's actually a sales metric, the final one, but you need to know that because if you have a conversion rate of 50% and you want 2 new clients every month, you need to have 4 meetings. So that the 4 is the marketing metric, of course, and we need to know we need to get at least 4 meetings booked every month. And there's lots of things that you can track that don't really matter. They can matter, but things like, for example, website visits or social media followers or likes on Facebook, they can all be really low or really high and actually, not result or in business outputs. What we're really talking about here is, the things that we can track and say, if we get more meetings and we'll get more sales. People liking you on Facebook, it might help, but that's not really what I would call a proper sales or business metric. So I want to leave a bit of time for questions. To sum up, just focus on the most effective marketing tactics. There's so many things that we could do. There probably only needs to be 3 or 4 that you're doing month to month that will deliver you most of the results, real 80-20 stuff. The tactics are going to be driven by your prospect map. If your prospects are hanging out in certain places, you've got to be there and use the tactics to get in front of them. Remember to sell a solution to people's problems, not just selling yourself or your firm. That's really important. And the first time you go through this 90-day plan process, keep it really simple. I know that time is your most precious resource, and so be realistic about what you'll actually get done. Even if it's just one activity a week, and you do it, then you're going to see some result from that. But if you put in like 20 activities and you do about 2 of them, that's going to be pretty demotivating. So be realistic. And just as we just talked about there, just track those key metrics. Ignore what doesn't matter. Don't get bogged down in some of these kind of, especially online marketing numbers that don't really help grow your business. So that's the end of the session. I'm going to stick around and answer some questions. And thanks very much for coming along. Hopefully, you managed to see all of the sessions in this stream. And hopefully that's been useful for you in creating a focused marketing plan. The next session we've got is tomorrow, and that's a Q&A session with Gayatri Wood on social media. So I can see if you're in Australia and New Zealand, that's pretty early. We tried to split the sessions between sort of UK, US, and down under kind of time zones. But we will be recording that session if you can't make it along, and that'll be on monthofmarketing.com. So I'm going to stick around now to answer your questions. A couple of links on screen which might help you out. So our Facebook group, Ascend, which is marketing support for accountants and bookkeepers. We've also given away some pretty cool prizes. Not long left to go in Month of Marketing now. This is the final week. So check out monthofmarketing.com prizes to find out more. But yeah, I'm going to stick around now for some questions, and realize we're coming up to the hour. But if you have to leave now, thanks very much for coming along, and enjoy the rest of your day.
So we've got some questions here, Matt. First
Okay.
one's from Philip. Can you give us an example of a lead magnet for a builder or a tradie?
Yeah. So I think you've got to realize there that not necessarily those people may not. You probably want something quite simple. It's like a quick takeaway for them. I mean, it's not quite a lead magnet, but I know events work quite well with people looking at tradies, which if you're not in Australia or New Zealand, like trades-based businesses or contractors, construction workers. Maybe it's a video or something like that. Could be an ebook. I think it's asking some of those people what they, if you're talking to those prospects, what they would really value. So potentially like a 30-page ebook isn't going to be something that they would download, but maybe like a short video or something like that could be better.
Another question, when you were talking about creating Facebook groups, so they're just wondering, would emailing people to kickstart your group be the best way to ask people to join?
I don't know about the best way, but it's certainly a really good way. It's something that we did as we were building our group. So, if you've got an email list of clients or prospects, for sure, email them and ask them to take part. That would certainly be something really useful. Or it could be, say you'd created a group on a very specific topic. So let's say it was like cafe or restaurant owners. You could email people, local people in the area and be like, yeah, we've created this support group for businesses like yours. Do you want to join? So that's a great kind of way to, a great reason to get in touch with somebody.
Yeah, we've got another question. You're talking about when you were talking about planning those small events, how far in advance should you plan and how far in advance should you start promoting them as well?
I mean, the thing about events, they do need a bit more planning in that, you want to secure a room, um, and all that kind of logistical stuff. In terms of how far ahead you should promote it, probably 3 weeks, no more than 4 weeks, I think. People tend to operate on quite, I think, short cycles now, so I think, yeah, 3 or 4 weeks would probably be ideal.
Can should we plan beyond 90 days?
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's always good to have different levels of plans. You kind of like you have your big 5-year plan of where you want your business to be, but I think that if that's longer than a sort of one pager, it starts to become a bit fictional. So even that can be in your head sometimes, but you've got that sense of where you'd love to get to with your business, and you might have some numbers around that, and then that gets down to maybe like a year or two. You can have some sort of like broader stuff that you put in there. Um, so, it might be that one of the things we mentioned was attending a conference. That might be an annual conference. So, you plan that in. You might do very seasonal marketing around Christmas or tax time. So that there are things that you definitely can plan. But in terms of getting down to the nitty gritty of tasks and stuff that you like, physically going to go out and do, in detail, I think 90 days is fine for that. So you've got your general idea of what you're going to do, and then, yeah, as that comes up, you create a 90-day plan and just get into them.
So Kelly's asking, you spoke about repetition earlier on. So if, for example, an email is working really well, can you use it again, or do you have to change it up? Will people get annoyed if you keep using the same things?
Oh no, the opposite really. I don't think people get annoyed. It's one of the most underused things actually in marketing is repetition. And if you look at some of the big brands, they use the same marketing slogans, they use the same adverts year in, year out. Now, they wouldn't keep doing that if they didn't work. You especially think of like a TV advert, right? That costs a lot of money. People would not be repeating that stuff if it didn't work. And the reason it works is because it sometimes just takes a long time for people to react to things. Also, people buy when they're ready, not when you are. So we often think, oh, we'll send out a campaign and we'll get results. But yeah, the reason you get results is partly the campaign you send out, partly it's just that your prospects are ready at that time. So if they're not ready to switch accountants, it probably doesn't matter what campaigns you send. If they're happy and all of that, that's not going to work. That might not be the case in 2 years. They might not be happy anymore. And so sending the same email in 2 years might have a dramatically different effect. So yeah, sending the same emails repeatedly works. You can change up elements of them, like the subject line or whatever, but the reality is, like, most people won't read your emails, and even if you sent it, like 6 months ago, they've probably forgotten anyway. You're the only one who remembers it because it's important to you, whereas your email probably isn't that important to them. They get lots of emails every day, or lots of social posts or whatever. So repetition is important.
Yeah, Chris is asking, what's the most important thing to do in those first 90 days?
I think just get some marketing done is the most important thing. Is um, make a simple plan and execute it, because there's nothing feels better than actually getting through your tasks, right? And I really like that sort of crossing things off, but keeping them there. It's good to see what you've done, and if at the end of 90 days, you've got through a whole load of tasks, that's pretty rewarding. So yeah, that would be the overall thing I would say. The specific things I would say would be like have some form of lead magnet. It's really important. You know, it's just going to help you so much. Have a lead magnet, um, and work on building your email list. I think those two things more than anything are going to really help. If you've got a good email list, you can you know, you don't have to create amazing emails. Just get in front of people with good offers. You're gonna close some deals. And having the lead magnet just means that your website becomes more effective, your social media becomes more effective. When you meet people, you've got something to give them beyond the business card. So yeah, they'd be the things I'd focus on. Um, Keep the plan simple, do the tasks, try and get a lead magnet created in that time, and work on building that email list.
Yeah, that's all the questions I have on content. We just have one question about the workbook. So you can find that in the handout section, and that workbook covers all the things Matt's covered in this whole 90-day marketing plan stream. So it's the one workbook starting from the ideal prospect and filling that out. By the end, you should be able to develop this 90-day plan we've just run through. So thanks, Matt. Those are all the questions I have.
Well, thanks, Anthea, and thanks to everyone for coming along today. Now, what I should mention, if you want to complete your 90-day plan, feel free to email that over to us, and we'll be happy to give you some feedback on that. If you send that to inquiries@bizinconline.com, or just go onto our website, you'll see the contact details. We'll be happy to take a look at that and give you some feedback. So yeah, that just leaves me to say thanks for coming along today. That's my final session of Month of Marketing, but we've got 2 more sessions to go. So a Q&A on social media tomorrow, and then the final session is on Thursday, which is Perfect Proposals. Have I got the name right, Anthea?
Powerful.
Powerful, and perfect as well. So yeah, so make sure you try and get along to those sessions. But yeah, thanks very much for coming along today. We'll send out the recording and those handouts in the next few hours.